Hey there, folks, and welcome back to another market update episode. My name's Lucas Martin. I'm our business development manager, and this is a new segment where I pick the minds of our industry experts here at ARC Advisory Group. We'll learn about the scope of their research, growth inhibiting factors, growth drivers, get a better idea about the competitive landscape, and also any interesting facts they might have picked up along the way. Stick around to stay up to date with everything ARC. Hey there, folks, and welcome back to another market update episode. Today, I'm joined by one of our senior analysts here at ARC Advisory Group, Rick Riss. Rick recently completed a operator training simulation market study, and we wanted to set up some time to share a little bit more with the audience. Thanks so much for the time today, Rick. Can you just lay out maybe the overall scope for the OT study and maybe why it focuses on such high consequence processes?
Yeah, the scope of the operator training system study is in fact focused on process modeling and simulation, and this typically is a specialized market for high consequence units like oil refining, offshore oil rigs, petrochemicals, the chemical industry. Nuclear power is a big player as well. But it requires the operators in these processes to know and understand the process. And therefore, these very expensive accidents that could occur, like Chernobyl and Fukushima, Bhopal, could be avoided by training the operators. So it is training by the control and safety systems, and failures provide operators with the skills to act quickly and confidently to keep operations safe.
Absolutely. So, Rick, can you give the audience an idea about, overall, what types of simulations does ARC cover generally and in this study?
So, in this study, we cover the simulation of the control system and safety system, ESD, emergency shutdown. We cover the modeling and simulation of the process itself, whatever kind of process that is. That means we have heat material balance models. We also cover 3D spatial simulations of the geometry of the process, which is also a small part of the market actually. So we need accurate dynamic simulations of many processes like distillation, chemical reactors. They model and simulate nuclear reactors. And these require equipment models, including kinetics, the nucleonics of nuclear reactors, and accurate physical properties. The control and safety systems for such processes are often complex themselves, and we'd like to model and simulate precisely the displays, the alarms, the advanced controls, and the safety interlocks. Field operators need to understand the location of sensors and gauges and valves, and training field operators often involves a spatial simulation.
Absolutely. Thanks for the comprehensive answer there, Rick. Can you just give the audience an idea about, how simulations maybe vary by industry? I think that could be of interest here.
Yeah, so some simulations are what's called generic simulations. They are simulations of typical unit operations. These simulations might include simulations of pumps, valves, heat exchangers, fired heaters, simple distillation columns, and reactors. These can be very helpful for new operators or even to refresh experienced operators. But they're not specific to the control system and the specific process at a particular refinery or a nuclear power plant, for example. So these simple simulations of the control system, simple simulations might also be used to model and simulate the control system for system checkout or a directionally correct models that might allow control system engineers to verify the ranges, the scales, and the signals going into the control system. However, the use of high fidelity simulators is the biggest part of this market, and these are model-specific, process-specific, high-fidelity models of the actual process equipment, and they can be used to model and simulate both the normal and abnormal situation. The chemistry and physics of these processes must be accurate.
Absolutely. And Rick, I know we've talked about, you've been to a number of, plants in person, but I wanted to ask you, how do you think field operators training with spatial simulations? Like, how do you see that?
Well, a lot of operators actually get trained with on-the-job training. They go out and have the senior operator tell them how it works. However, in the simulation market, you may be aware of 3D virtual reality simulations and 3D video game environments. Things like the Unity simulation engine is very common. These could use 3D glasses like the Oculus Rift or the Microsoft HoloLens, and you can navigate around a three-dimensional virtual process plant. Such simulations can be connected to the process and control system simulation so that the operator might be walking around the simulated plant. And this could also be, the field operator could also simultaneously be walking through the plant that's being simulated by the console operator and the process simulation. So you might be able to simulate a fire at a pump, for example, and go to the motor control center and shut that pump motor off, for example. The 3D models that are often used are, maybe CAD design drawings. They may be wire diagrams that they could be made from LiDAR scanning, or some of them are even from a series of photographs that are kind of stitched together to form a 3D model. So some of these models, these 3D models, can also be useful for maintenance tasks and for creating standard operating procedures. And so these are the spatial simulation part of OTS.
Absolutely. Hey, Rick, I know we're kind of running a little bit low on time here, but before we wrap, were there any, main trends in the OTS market you wanted to share before we close out today? Maybe a growth factor, growth inhibiting factor? I'm just going to leave that one open-ended for you.
Well, simulations are a big part of the OTS market. And what we found is that coal-fired power plants are in decline and, for environmental reasons. And however, new gas, and gas-fired power plants do not use OTS systems so much. However, the oil refining business is still growing. There are still refineries being built in Africa and Asia. The U.S. and European markets are relatively small. And some of these power plants are being replaced by wind and solar, but they just are completely unmanned and do not use OTS systems. The other major part of the power plant part of the market is nuclear power. And, nuclear power is kind of stagnated right now. There's a lot of hope from many that it will see a big renaissance. And you would think that because there's very few nuclear plants being built right now, that the simulation market might actually be in decline there. But actually, you would be wrong, because there are some 50 different companies trying to develop the next generation of small modular and advanced reactors. And these companies require detailed simulation models, in part to get NRC regulation or regulatory approvals. And so these companies are hiring the very OTS providers to build models to simulate these plants. So we're definitely seeing some very interesting market trends in the OTS market.
Absolutely. Well, hey, on behalf of the audience, I wanted to thank you for the time today, Rick. Just a reminder, folks, we'll have links in our description below. You can contact us directly through our webpage. We love to talk about, how market research, market data, market shares are forecasting. All the information included in the study can help your company out. Thanks again, Rick. Really appreciate the time, and we'll see you on the next Market Update episode.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. My pleasure.